Hey, this is Bill Raymond, and welcome to part 2 of my Working with Data in Jekyll video series. In this one, we're going to talk about working with built-in data. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just kind of get ourselves set up. You're going to want to create a folder for yourself. In my case, I created this folder called Jekyll-Data-Example. You can call yours whatever you want. Get that on your computer, and then create a new Jekyll site. And if you don't know how to do that, then go back and watch the earlier videos in this playlist. I'll link to them on this page as I'm speaking. And then go back and come back afterwards when you're familiar with that, and then you can start working with the data. Okay, so this is a standard Jekyll site. It's a minima site, and it's already set up. So all I need to do here is go into the command line and type bundle exec Jekyll serve -- live reload. And as you'll recall, this is the live reload option, so as we make changes to our site, they'll show up automatically. So I'll just go ahead and open this up in my browser. Now this is the minima site that comes by default when you install Jekyll, and of course it comes with a single post. It's called Welcome to Jekyll, and I can find that over here on the left-hand side in the _post folder, and there's that Welcome to Jekyll markdown. And it displays like this because of the way the theme is set up. Okay, and I also have the home page, of course, that we were just at, that lists a list of posts, and we have an about page, and there's our static page. So I come over here to the about page. All right, just about markdown. There we go, and you can see there's that cover matter, that YAML front matter, that explains that this is a page, tells us the title, and some other information. And the posts has a similar layout, except you can see it says layout : post. And that has a title, a date, and some categories. So they look a little bit different, but all of this information we can query on when we're working with data. Finally, don't forget we have the config.yml file, and this lists information such as the title of our site, what our email is. A lot of this stuff is used by the minima theme. It's not actually needed by Jekyll itself. For example, Jekyll doesn't have to have my Twitter username, but the minima theme wants that. So we'll play around with this in just a little bit. So the first thing that we're going to do is create a file at the root folder, new file, and we're going to look at Jekyll data first. So I'll type Jekyll-data.html, and I'm going to point my browser to that. And you can see it's a blank page right now. Now I want this page to automatically refresh and get rebuilt by Jekyll every time that I do some work on it. So I'll just put 3 dashes at the top. And then I'm just going to type HTML:5 and tab, because we are in Visual Studio Code, and I'll save that. And you can see there's nothing really that's changed on the right. But now what I'll do is just type H1 and press tab, and I'll say using Jekyll data, and save that. And I'll refresh. The first time I needed to refresh, but moving forward I shouldn't have to, but I just want to verify that. So I'll just press enter and type the word test again. You can see there's that test that just popped up. If I remove it and save, then it's gone again. So all right, good. We're in good shape, and we can start playing with Jekyll data. When we work with Jekyll data, we're going to be using the liquid template language. And from what I understand, Shopify created this language to make it easy for people to write basic code on their Shopify site, and Jekyll went ahead and started using that as well. So I have these two extensions installed. I have the Liquid Languages Support extension installed, and then I have the Shopify Liquid Templates installed, template snippets installed. And this is a really cool one because I can type, for example, you'll be using if-then statements, where statements, you'll be assigning variables. You can just type one of the commands that Shopify supports, press tab, and it will automatically fill this out for you. I'm going to be using this a lot in this demo, but I'll be walking you through it. So don't worry, we're not gonna go too far with this. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and collapse the Explorer and zoom in, and let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is take a look at all the posts on our site. Now, we actually only have one post, and it's called Welcome to Jekyll, but we can go ahead and look at that. So I'm just going to come in here and type H2 tab and say post data, and then I'll come down here and I'm going to save as I go so you can just kind of see the refreshes occurring as I do this. And now we'll just say for, and now this is the liquid template language that I'm referring to. You can see that I can put a for statement in here, and this is going to loop through items in a collection. And you can see that in order to write that code, you do an open bracket with a %, and then you do a close bracket and %. So inside of here, where it says item, I'm going to say for post in site.posts. And I'll save this. You'll see that nothing really happens yet. But now I can just go ahead. I'm going to create a paragraph tab. Whoops. A paragraph tab. And I'll just say post title. And then I'll do 2 squiggly brackets. And this is where I can put variables. So the variable that I want to put in here is post.title. And I'll say save. And you can see here's my text. Post title : welcome to Jekyll. So that's the data that we just pulled from Jekyll. And if I wanted to say post date, then I could just do post.date. Save. And if there were multiple Jekyll posts, then we'd see them here. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to come over here to the Explorer, and I'm going to find the posts folder, and I'm going to create a new file, a new blog post. So just to make this easy, I'll copy and paste. I will make this yesterday, and I'll call this my first post, and I'll change the title here to my first post, and we'll just make this 06 as well. Same time, that's fine, and save. And you can see now we have both of the posts over here on the right hand side. So that's pretty cool. So basically, I'm just going to close down this post here so we can come back. So we're saying loop through all the posts and then display them one at a time. Okay. And of course, this is all formatting that you can set up. So let's say you wanted to, make the post title a little bit more bold. There's post title is now bold, so we can kind of see a little bit more separation. You can really kind of go as far as you want with this. You can just, use CSS styling with any of this data. So don't worry about that. What we're focusing on here is not how it looks, but getting access to the data. Now we're going to take a look at pages. So it's not going to be too different than what we just did with the post data. Type H2 and I'll say page data. And then I'll come down here and do another for loop. And you've probably guessed it. We're going to say for each page in site.pages, then we're going to display the page title. So let me just quickly do this. P, and I'll type page title. And then I'll come over here and do the double brackets again. And I'll type page.title. So I'm drawing off of this word page here. That's page.title, and save this. And you can see that there's a whole bunch of titles here that don't actually have anything. That's because Jekyll knows that there's certain pages on the site that don't have a title. And let's just take a look at that. So we only have one with a title, and that's about. So here's about.markdown, and you can see it has a title of about in this YAML configuration area. However, if we come over here to this another page, which we know is in the site, it's called 404.html, its YAML configuration data does not have a title. So there's pages on here that it will recognize. Just because it doesn't have a title doesn't mean you got some bad data. It just means it doesn't have a title. So there's a number of ways you can go about doing this. I'm just going to show you the basic way to maybe just hide anything that doesn't have the word about or any pages that don't have a title, rather. I'll just say if page.title, and then I'll just take this code and put it up inside the if block. One of the things that's nice about the Liquid language is it uses what we call truthy. So this is the equivalent of if page.title does not equal null. Okay, so basically I'm just saying only display things that have a title. So I'll save this, and there. Now we just see about. Okay. Now what we want to do is go after the config.yml. So I'm just going to go ahead and create myself a little underscore config.yml title here that will display on my web page. And before I go and do anything, let's go ahead and go back to the Explorer and take a look at the config.yml file. You can basically put any data in here that you like. It even says it right up here. It's the file's meant for settings, and you can go ahead and add more if you want to. So the thing is that by default, when I install Jekyll with the Minima theme, it actually uses the Twitter username, and that gets displayed at the footer of a page. I'm not set up, this page that we created doesn't have the footer, but it would display the Twitter username. You can see it says Jekyll RB by default. Now, I want it to be my username. But first, before we even get into that, let's go ahead and put that on the page. So we'll create a new paragraph tag, and we'll say Twitter username. And once again, in the double brackets here, I'll type in, sorry, that was my clipboard. I'll type site.Twitter username. Now notice that I'm not doing a for loop in this. I know that there's one Twitter username in that config file. There's not multiple, so I don't need to loop through it. So just by typing site.Twitter username without the loop, I'll still be able to get it. So I'll save my work here, and you can see there it is, Twitter username Jekyll RB. Now, here is where I got pretty excited about the config.yml file, was because I wanted to put all of my custom settings in here. From my website, for example, I have a list of services that I offer, so I created the services in here. I also have a list of menu items that look different than what Minima came with, so I wanted to create all my own custom menu items. The problem is, anytime you change a variable in config.yml, you don't get the live reload. You have to actually exit live reload and go back in. So let me show you what that means. I'm going to go in here and change this from Jekyll RB to Bill Raymond E, which is my Twitter handle, and save that. Now that's saved, so it's not showing up over here because first I need to leave do a Control-C to stop Jekyll from running, and then I have to rerun it again. And now when I refresh the page, there's the Bill Raymond E. So it's really not a good idea to use config.yml to create your own custom data. That's why we're going to use our own custom data. But I just wanted to show you why you don't want to do that. Of course, if you do have data in config.yml, you now know how to access it by using this site dot and then the value that you're looking for. Now imagine that you're running a website and you have multiple posts on your site. You might want to display the featured post, the most recent one, and then also show the rest of them. Now, in order for me to demonstrate this, I am going to create another post here. So let me just quickly do that right now. I'll come over here to posts, and I'm going to just copy and paste this my first post, and I'll just rename this file to say test post. We'll just call it a test post. And I'll come over here and call this test post. And I'll just collapse this now, close this all out. You can see now I have 3 different posts on my site. So what I'm going to do is close this down and come over here to our Jekyll Data page, and I'm going to type h2, and I'll call this one latest post. And just like before, we're going to do our for loop, and we're going to say post in site.posts. And then we'll go ahead and say, let's actually do this. We'll do an H3. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm just going to go ahead and type in the latest post. I'm going to just say post.title. And when we're done, you can see here's the list of all the posts. It says, welcome to Jekyll, test post, and my first post. But what I want to do is just display the latest post. So what I can do is come over here to the for loop, and this is a liquid thing. This isn't necessarily a Jekyll thing, but I can do limit : 1. And now when I save this, it's only going to show the latest post right here. So the for loop essentially ended right after it found that first post. So now let's do this again. Let's come over here, and I'll just create a little space here so we can keep track of everything. And now I'm going to say all other posts. And now what we'll have is all the other posts except for the first one. So now I'm just going to do, once again, for post in site.posts. And this time, instead of limit : 1, I'm going to say offset : 1. And what this is going to do is tell Jekyll to ignore the very first item that it sees and move on to the second one. And so now I'll just do again, post.title. And actually, we'll go ahead and do the thing where I wrap this into a p tag. There we go. And there, you can see there's our latest post, welcome to Jekyll. And here are other posts, the test post and then my first post. So that's kind of neat. Now, you can also do one other thing. Let's say that we have all of our posts on a page, but we don't want to show a certain, we only want to limit the number of posts. Let's say that, for example, you have, in this case, you only want to display one more post, not all other posts. So I can do is just, I'm going to copy this text here for that all other posts. And this time we're going to just say plus one more post. And this time we're going to have this offset of 1, plus I'm going to type a limit of 1 and save that. So now we have the latest post says welcome to Jekyll, and plus one more post is the next post in the list, and it's not displaying any others. So this is just a way for you to kind of get used to working with Jekyll Data and using some of these handy commands that Liquid provides us. Now let's pretend for a minute that you're a travel blogger, and what you want to do is add some custom data to your blog. Now, again, you can do all of this with posts or pages, so I'm just showing you how to do this in a post as an example. But I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go to this My First Post, and I'm going to add a new field to it. And all I need to do is type enter after categories, or actually I could put it anywhere I want. I'm just pressing enter here. And I'm going to say region, and I'll type North America. Now, it doesn't really matter what I type here. I can really kind of create any field that I want. But what's useful here is that I've just created my very own custom value, and Jekyll is tracking that now. So how do I use that? So I'm going to say H2 North America blog posts. And let me just get this out of the way. Make it easier to read. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is, rather than a for loop, I'm going to instead do this. I'm going to assign North America posts to site.posts. And then I'm going to type a pipe, and that is shift backslash, and that creates a sort of a vertical line, and I can type where, and then I can type in region is North America. And I'll go ahead and save that just to make sure it works. I'm not getting any errors. But really all I've done now is I've assigned a variable called North America posts to site.posts. Okay? So now I'll type for post in NA posts. And then I'll just type post.title, save. And you can see the only post that actually had that custom data element in it is that My First Post page. So we're all good. We've just created our own custom data element. And again, you can do this in pages too. So I could have gone into the About page and added that just as easily, and it would have worked. All I needed to do is, instead of saying site.posts, I'd do site.pages. This is going to be the last example. So I'm going to do one last thing, which is actually to show you how to create a link for your post. So let's go ahead and type H2 and say posts with links. And again, you can use pages as well. So here we're going to go for post in site.posts. And then inside of there, we're going to create a p tag. And I'll just go ahead and say create an href and type post.url, and then in here in the text area I'll do post.title. So when I save this, you can see now we have the list of posts and they're all links and they work. Now here's what you need to be aware of. This may work in your development environment. However, when you go and you publish this up to, let's say, GitHub Pages or some other Jekyll hosting site, the link may not work. So here's what you need to do if you encounter that problem. Usually all you need to do is, where it says the post.url in the href, just do a pipe here, again that shift backslash, and do relative underscore URL. And there we go. And save that. Now, they'll still work here on your dev environment, and you won't really notice much of a change when you go to view the source. However, it will be very different when you go and you host it. This time, the links should work. There's also an absolute URL that you could put on here, but I recommend you just use relative URL whenever you can. So that's kind of that. The only other thing that I will mention is that when you're working with data, sometimes, especially with hrefs and other HTML code that you might write, sometimes these spaces that are inside the brackets might actually be interpreted as spaces, meaning you shouldn't have a space, for example, between these double quotes where this href tag is. However, it does see a space, there could be a problem. So what I like to do in that case is use this little thing here, this dash, this minus sign. And when I do that, you won't see any change on the page, but this is telling Liquid, get rid of any blank spaces. Don't save any space when you're doing this. And you can also do that with this for loop as well, for example. So you might be working with data on your page and wondering, why is some of the information on my page kind of adding extra space or an extra paragraph or something like that? Well, you can just use these dashes here, and that will help resolve that problem. And again, if you happen to be using that cool little snippets tool that I was showing you before, you'll notice I have been typing 4 and pressing the tab key. I could also type 4 dash, and you'll see that I'm getting that capability built right into my code. So I hope that you find this useful, and good luck working with data in your next Jekyll project. Thank you for watching this video. If you want more like this, please like, comment, and click the bell to support my channel.